What if everything you call reality is nothing more than a shadow on a wall? Imagine being born in darkness, chained, unable to turn your head. Before you, a wall. Upon it, moving shapes, flickering silhouettes cast by a fire you cannot see. Voices echo behind you, but you believe the shadows are the speakers. The shadows are the world. The shadows are truth. Now imagine this. One man breaks free. He turns around, and what he discovers shatters everything he has ever believed. Tonight, we explore the man who escaped the cave, the most dangerous story ever told by the philosopher Plato in his masterpiece, The Republic. But this is not just philosophy, it is initiation. Because the cave is not somewhere in ancient Greece. It is your conditioned mind. It is society's illusions. It is the invisible prison of beliefs you did not choose. And the man who escaped? He represents something within you. In this video, we will uncover the hidden esoteric meaning of the cave, why most people resist the light, what truly happens when consciousness awakens, and how you can begin your own escape. This is not a comfortable journey. The prisoner who leaves the cave does not feel relief at first. He feels pain, confusion, blindness, because truth is not soothing in the beginning. It burns. If you are willing to question what you see, if you are ready to examine the shadows in your own life, then step forward. The chains are lighter than you think. Historical and philosophical context. To understand the cave, we must step into the mind of Plato himself. Plato was not merely a thinker, he was an initiate of ideas, a student of Socrates who was executed for corrupting the youth and questioning the illusions of his time. This alone should tell you something. Truth has always threatened the comfortable. The Allegory of the Cave appears in Book 7 of the Republic, written around 380 BCE. On the surface, it is a discussion about education and politics, but beneath the surface, it is a metaphysical map of awakening. In Plato's worldview, reality exists in layers. There is the world of appearances, the shifting, unstable world of the senses, and beyond it, there is the world of forms, eternal, unchanging truths. The physical world is merely a copy, a shadow of higher realities. This idea did not emerge in isolation. Plato was influenced by the Pythagoreans, who believed numbers were sacred principles underlying the cosmos. He was shaped by the mystery traditions of ancient Greece, initiation schools where seekers underwent symbolic death and rebirth. The cave is structured like an initiation ritual. Darkness, bondage, liberation, blinding light, return. This pattern appears again and again in esoteric traditions. In Egyptian mysteries, the initiate passed through symbolic darkness before meeting the light of Osiris. In spiritual rebirth traditions, one must die to the false self before awakening to the true self. Even in later mystical systems, such as Neoplatonism, philosophers like Plotinus taught that the soul descends into matter and must ascend again through inner purification. The cave is not just a story, it is a cosmology. The fire behind the prisoners represents artificial light, partial knowledge, cultural conditioning, limited perception. The shadows are opinions, media narratives, inherited beliefs, unexamined assumptions. And the sun outside the cave? For Plato, the sun symbolizes the form of the good, the ultimate principle of reality. It is truth itself, the source of all understanding. Notice something important. The prisoners do not know they are imprisoned. Their chains are invisible because they have never experienced anything else. This is the most radical part of the allegory. Ignorance is not merely lack of information, it is identification with illusion. And according to Plato, most people prefer the shadows because shadows are familiar, predictable, safe. The cave, then, is not a criticism of ancient society alone. It is a diagnosis of human consciousness. It is a warning, and it is an invitation. Core Explanation, Part 1. Let us enter the cave, not as observers, but as prisoners. From birth, your legs and neck are chained. You cannot move. You cannot turn your head. Before you stretches a rough stone wall. Behind you burns a fire. Between the fire and your back, unseen figures walk along a raised path, carrying statues and objects. Their shadows are cast onto the wall in front of you. You have never seen the fire. You have never seen the carriers. You have never seen yourself. All you know are shadows. Now ask yourself something unsettling. How would you know they are not real? If a shadow of a tree appears, you call it a tree. If a shadow of a person appears, you call it a person. If a shadow flickers and changes, you call it movement. Language forms around illusion. This is the first layer of Plato's message. Perception is not reality. The senses do not reveal truth. They interpret light patterns and project meaning. What you call the world is already a filtered construction inside your nervous system. The cave represents the conditioned mind. From childhood, beliefs are projected onto the wall of your awareness. This is success. This is failure. This is beauty. This is power. This is who you are. You rarely question where these definitions came from. The fire behind the prisoners symbolizes artificial light, second-hand knowledge, cultural narratives, social programming. It is illumination, yes, but incomplete. It is like living by the glow of a candle while thinking it is the sun. Now imagine something extraordinary happens. One prisoner is freed, not by his own strength at first, but by circumstance, perhaps by grace, perhaps by inner unrest. He is forced to stand. His muscles ache. His neck resists turning. When he finally looks behind him, he sees the fire. He is confused. The shadows he once trusted no longer seem ultimate. He sees the mechanisms that produce them. This moment is philosophical awakening. It is when you realize that your thoughts are not entirely yours, that many of your desires were implanted, that the narratives you defended were projections. But notice something crucial. The freed prisoner does not feel joy immediately. He feels pain. His eyes burn from the unfamiliar light. His mind struggles to reorganize itself. What once felt solid now feels unstable. This is the crisis of awakening. In spiritual traditions, this phase is sometimes called the dark night, not because there is darkness, but because your previous certainty collapses. When illusions dissolve, the ego resists. It whispers, "Go back. The shadows were easier. You were respected there. You belonged there." This resistance explains why many who begin questioning retreat back into comfort, because truth destabilizes identity. The freed prisoner, however, is compelled forward. He is dragged upward, out of the cave, into the open air. And here, something even more dramatic occurs. He is blinded. The sunlight overwhelms him. He cannot see clearly at first. He must slowly adjust, first seeing reflections in water, then objects, and finally the sun itself. This gradual adaptation is essential. Plato is telling us higher truth cannot be absorbed instantly. Consciousness must expand in stages. Just as the eyes require time to adapt to brightness, The mind requires time to integrate deeper understanding. The ascent from the cave is the ascent of awareness, from opinion to knowledge, from belief to insight, from borrowed thought to direct perception. But we have only reached the midpoint of the journey, because the true test of awakening does not happen outside the cave. It happens when the awakened one returns.
Core Explanation, Part 2. The man who escaped the cave does something unexpected. He returns. This is the part of the allegory most people overlook. Awakening is not escape for personal comfort. It is transformation that demands responsibility. When the freed prisoner descends back into the cave, his eyes must readjust to the darkness. The shadows now appear blurry to him. He struggles to interpret them as he once did. The other prisoners notice. They see his confusion. They mock him. They conclude that leaving the cave damaged his vision. To them, he is proof that seeking truth is dangerous. And if anyone attempted to free them, Plato tells us they would resist violently. Here lies the second, deeper layer of the allegory. Ignorance defends itself. The cave is not merely a place of illusion, it is a system that sustains itself through consensus. The prisoners validate each other's shadows. They reward those who predict the movements correctly. They build status hierarchies based on illusion. Sound familiar? Society often rewards those who master appearances, not those who seek underlying truth. The man who returns from the light is no longer aligned with the cave's values. He has seen something beyond competition over shadows, and this creates tension. Psychologically, this represents what happens when someone undergoes genuine inner awakening. You begin questioning narratives others take for granted. You withdraw from certain conversations. You no longer react to praise or insult the same way. And people notice. Some are curious. Some are uncomfortable. Some are threatened. Why? Because your shift exposes the fragility of their certainty. Plato may have been alluding to the fate of his teacher, Socrates, who was condemned by Athens for challenging collective assumptions. The allegory is not abstract, it is personal, political, and spiritual. But there is an even subtler layer. The cave is not only society, it is also the inner ego structure. When a higher insight dawns within you, when you glimpse something beyond personal identity, your old psychological patterns resist, habits pull you back, emotional reactions attempt to reassert dominance. Returning to the cave symbolizes integration. It is not enough to glimpse the sun in meditation or insight. The real work is bringing clarity into daily life, into relationships, work, speech, decisions. The awakened mind must function in the world of shadows without becoming trapped by them. And here is the paradox. The shadows never fully disappear. Even the enlightened individual still perceives forms and appearances. The difference is awareness. The awakened person knows they are shadows. This is liberation, not the destruction of the world, but freedom from misidentification with it. The sun in Plato's symbolism represents the form of the good, the ultimate source of truth and reality. To see the sun is to perceive that all things derive from a higher principle. In esoteric terms, this is the realization that consciousness precedes form. The cave shows us three types of people: those who never question, those who awaken but retreat, and those who awaken and return to serve. The last category is rare because it requires courage, not only to leave illusion, but to live compassionately among those who still see only shadows. Now the question becomes personal. Are you still watching shadows? Are you in the painful stage of turning toward the fire? Or have you glimpsed the sun and are unsure how to return? In the next section, we move from philosophy to practice, because the cave is not just a metaphor, it is a condition you can transcend. Practical application. The cave is not somewhere outside you.
It is a pattern of perception. And escaping it does not require physical movement. It requires inner reorientation. Let us translate Plato's allegory into practical steps. 1. Recognize the shadows. Begin with observation. For 1 week, notice your automatic reactions. When something triggers anger, pause. When you feel envy, pause. When you feel the urge to defend an opinion, pause. Ask yourself, is this a direct perception or a conditioned response? Most of what we call my personality is a collection of inherited shadows, beliefs absorbed from parents, culture, media, education. Write down 3 core beliefs you hold about success, relationships, or yourself. Then ask, where did this belief come from? You may discover that what you defended as truth was merely projection on a wall. This is turning toward the fire. It may feel destabilizing. Good. 2. Strengthen your inner vision. The freed prisoner had to adjust gradually to the sunlight. Likewise, you must cultivate inner clarity. Daily silent reflection, even 10 to 15 minutes, is essential, not to escape life, but to observe it from a higher vantage point. Sit comfortably. Close your eyes. Watch your thoughts arise and pass without identifying with them. You are not the shadows on the wall of your mind. You are the awareness observing them. Over time, a subtle shift occurs. You begin to see thoughts as events, not identity. This is the beginning of freedom. 3. Seek direct experience over second-hand knowledge. The fire in the cave represents borrowed understanding. Ask yourself, what do I know because I experienced it directly, and what do I know because someone told me? Read widely, but verify inwardly. If you explore spiritual teachings, test them through practice. If you adopt a philosophy, examine its effects on your behavior. Truth strengthens when experienced. Illusion weakens when examined. 4. Prepare for resistance. When you begin stepping outside conditioned patterns, expect discomfort. Friends may misunderstand your new boundaries. Old habits will tempt you back. The ego will whisper that life was simpler before questioning began. Remember, the pain of light is temporary. The comfort of illusion is permanent stagnation. You do not need to preach your awakening. You do not need to argue. Live it quietly. The man who escaped the cave did not return to dominate. He returned to illuminate. 5. Integrate, do not escape. Spiritual growth is not rejection of the world. It is right perception within it. Continue working, continue loving, continue engaging, but do so with awareness that forms are transient. When insulted, see the shadow. When praised, see the shadow. When afraid, see the shadow. Gradually, your emotional reactivity softens. You still participate, but you are no longer chained. The true escape from the cave is not withdrawal from society. It is liberation from unconscious identification. And that liberation begins with a single act: turning your head. Conclusion. The allegory of the cave is not an ancient myth. It is a mirror. Plato was not describing prisoners in a distant cavern. He was describing the human condition, yesterday, today, and tomorrow. We've seen that the shadows represent conditioned perception. The fire symbolizes borrowed understanding. The ascent represents painful awakening. The sun reveals ultimate truth. and the return demands courage and compassion. But here is the final question. What if the chains were never locked? What if the only thing keeping you facing the wall is habit? Most people never attempt to turn their heads, not because they are incapable, but because they are comfortable. The shadows provide certainty, identity, belonging. Yet somewhere within you there is restlessness, a subtle intuition that there is more than appearances, more than reactions, more than socially approved definitions of success and failure. That intuition is the beginning of your ascent. Understand this clearly. Awakening is not about acquiring new beliefs. It is about dissolving false ones. It is not about rejecting the world, but perceiving it accurately. It is not about becoming superior to others, but becoming free within yourself. And freedom, in Plato's vision, carries responsibility. If you glimpse a deeper truth, live it with integrity. If you see beyond illusion, embody clarity rather than arrogance. If you step into the light, let your presence, not your preaching, be the evidence. The cave still exists. The shadows still dance. But now you know they are shadows. So tonight, reflect quietly. Where in your life are you mistaking projection for reality? Where are you defending illusions because they feel safe? And what would happen if you dared to turn toward the light? The ascent begins with awareness. The rest is courage.